is the Herdline News.
Well, the Jets have a big opportunity to take a step up in the AFC East this season without Tom Brady in their way. But that does not mean that Sam Darnold is overlooking the New England Patriots.
With a great player like Tom Brady, obviously leaving, it's a big deal. It's headlines. For us, every single game in the NFL is a tough one. And I think any player can attest to that. So we're not going to take anyone more lightly just because, even though, one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time, left the organization, we're not going to take him any more lightly.
Well, they lost to the Patriots twice last year. Luke Falk was the quarterback for one of those losses, and then Sam Darnold lost 33-0 and threw 4 interceptions. So that might be why he has a little bit of lingering anxiety about how bad the Patriots are going to be just because Tom Brady isn't there. But again, I'm very interested to see what happens with the AFC East this year. And you and I think are on both on the same page that we don't have a lot of faith that the Patriots are going to be atop the AFC East, although everyone keeps saying and insisting that they are. All I could hear about last year was how Brady had no weapons and they let go of all these players and Brady couldn't get it done, but I'm supposed to believe that just because Bill Belichick is still there, that Jarrett Stidham is supposed to do what Tom Brady couldn't do. I don't get it. But the future of the AFC East is interesting for the first time in a very long time. I mean, we've always known who was going to come out of the AFC East for the last 20 years, 19, the one year that Tom Brady was injured. So Odell Beckham Jr. is looking to bounce back from a disappointing first year with the Browns. He was dealing with some injuries during last season, and he revealed just how bad it got. He said, "My third week of training camp, I tear a little piece of my ab. So before the season, I kind of had the hernia thing going on. Sports hernia is what they call it.
Those hurt, yeah. I
really didn't try and say anything about it. Probably one of the worst surgeries I've ever had. Recovery's going well. Guess I'm really just trying to put my body back together."
Yeah, he's been dinged up more than once in his career. I mean, like his health is now a little bit of the narrative of him is, can he be healthy?
Well, in 2014, he missed the first 4 games with a hamstring injury. 2017, he had the ankle fracture. He only played 4 games. 2018, he had a quad injury, missed 4 games. He said most of last year he was injured. His last full season was 2016 when he had 101 receptions and 1,367 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. So, yes, a healthy Odell would be a revelation, but even if he is 100% healthy, as we've talked about extensively, they have a lot of weapons.
Lord.
Even if he is 100% healthy, is he going to get the ball enough to get the production that he wants regardless? Obviously, he's going to feel better. Sports hernia is an awful experience. Can't speak for myself, but I've heard much about it, and it's not a pleasant experience, certainly when you're out there trying to play through it. So I commend him for that. Obviously, you're going to have to play through injuries, and that's a rough one to play through. But even if he is 100% healthy, there's a lot of people that need to get the ball this year in Cleveland. Finally, there was some talk about the Dolphins but there was talk that they should consider unretiring Dan Marino's number 13 to give to Tua Tagovailoa. They retired it in 2003, but the Dolphins announced the numbers for their newest players, and Tua will wear number 1.
I loved it.
In Miami.
He got pushback. I love number 1 for Tua. I think it's great.
Why did he get pushback?
I don't know.
I love it.
I saw some people were like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That's what he is. He should be number 1. He looks like a number 1.
He does look like number 1.
He does.
He said after the draft that he wasn't worried about keeping his same number from Alabama. He said he understands that number 13 is retired, and it should be. There was some talk that Marino should let them take it out of retirement for Tua, what's the point of retiring a jersey if there's even a possibility that you're going to unretire it? It just nullifies the point of the entire ceremony and honor. So they should definitely not unretire it. But it's some numbers just kind of fit.
I always thought Derek Jeter 2.
Right.
I don't even know what. Maybe it's because it's Derek Jeter, but I've seen a lot of stars and I don't love their numbers. Just something about Derek Jeter's number and the uniform, it was always just perfect.
Yeah, and Jordan with 23, and obviously, we're talking about all-time great, so maybe they made the number, obviously, but yeah, there's something, I don't know, I like it. I think as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that works.
It does. By the way, I'm going to have some news on the Pittsburgh Steelers front. Fascinating stuff from Jay Glazer's coming up in just a little bit. That's Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Well, it's one of my favorite segments of the week. We often disagree on a lot, but that's okay. That's what sports are about, and especially when we don't have games now, a good sports topic or debate is always fun. So Nick Wright, my buddy, co-host First Things First, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. So sports needs you. And one of the reasons I just saw Dana White at a boxing match in Vegas. He stopped by our table. And Dana and I don't always agree, but I respect the hell out of him. And he's a Maverick. And Mavericks push back. And Mavericks don't worry about Twitter. And Mavericks are strong, and they're alphas. And we need them. And the UFC is going to host a fight this week. I've always thought the UFC-Disney marriage is very interesting because Disney is very corporate, very concerned about his image. Its stock price has tumbled, and they're very much a family brand and the Lion King. And I always thought Fox and UFC were a really good fit because Fox is The Simpsons, Family Guy, a little Deadpool. You know, we're a little edgier at Fox, and I think UFC is a real classic Maverick brand. That's why I think the WWE works on Fox, because the WWE and Vince McMahon, they don't care what you think, and they're coming back. And UFC doesn't care what you think. They're coming back. People often ask me, what do you think of Barstool Sports? And I'm like, well, thank God for them. I don't have to agree with all their content, but A, they do a lot of good content, and B, they're Mavericks. They push back. And this is why I think the NFL flourishes. Adam Silver's got to tiptoe around everything, and the baseball's got to tiptoe around their unions, and the NFL's like, hey, we're going to survive the blowback from Twitter. We're going to hold free agency. Home run. We're going to deal with the blowback on Twitter about the draft. Home run. If you can deal with the initial blowback from social media, and most corporations don't want to do that. Big corporations, they've got a lot to lose, and they get very timid about this stuff. And I think there's a big space in America for WWE. NASCAR's always had a little rebel to it. The NFL is unique. It's big and corporate and has a little rebel to it. Not a ton, but enough to withstand the blowback on the draft. And so these kind of people that challenge the status quo are important. That's where you get innovation from. Leaders, not followers. From people willing to push the envelope and roll the dice. And so I disagree a lot with Dana White on things through the years, but I respect the hell out of him. And he said, California, all right. I mean, there's a story out today. He's like, all right, we understand, Disney. You had a bad week. We're going back and doing this thing. And I thank God that we have these Mavericks in sports. Thank God all of our governors don't act the same way. To me, whether it's federalism, I like the opportunity to states to do their own thing and sports to do their own thing. And, there used to be newspapers, TV, that was it. Now you've got this massive tyranny of the mob social media component, and it scares corporations, and everybody's petrified to get ripped. And you need strong people like Dana White and Vince McMahon to say, hell with you. We'll just move it where we can do it. We're going on with this thing. So I'll watch the fight this weekend. Justin Gaethje's a very good fighter. He's on the card this weekend, and he talked about fighting during this virus.
He's going to bring a sense of normalcy to people, and, I'm proud to be a part of it. The opportunity to inspire. People need to be inspired right now. They need to not let themselves, become depressed, emotional, because they can't control what's going on right now. We got to ride it through, and they need to be inspired in a way, and we can do that. We have the opportunity.
Yeah, they're going for it. And I like living in a place where not everybody has to act the same and think the same, even during an ugly crisis. UFC, tip of the cap. Is I do think there are sports like golf, like tennis, like boxing, like UFC, like NASCAR, where you have one component or two combatants fighting, no fans, one referee, they wear a mask. Let's not pretend basketball, where you share a basketball, and UFC are the same thing. They're not. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the